Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Fibromyalgia Fighter. Yeah, let's be real. I'm in my own bedroom right now, and I've got COVID. I don't need this. This is going to be a bit of a different video to normal. Stay tuned to find out why. Welcome back, you guys. As you can see, I am sat at my desk, which is rather unusual for my videos. Right now, I am in the middle of a fibromyalgia flare-up still that has been ongoing now for just over a month. And about 8 or 9 days ago, I contracted COVID-19. This video is going to be about exactly how that happened and why. And the reason that I'm releasing this video now, as opposed to continuing with the same format that we've been using, and that is to release videos on a Friday at 5 p.m. UK time, is because obviously I missed the last Fridays. I set out a quick short to explain why, excuse me. And I'm going to miss this Friday as well. There's no way I'm going to be well enough to create a video that length in time. So, if you've seen the video for my story, then you will know a little bit about my background. You will know, for example, that I have fibromyalgia. You will probably know, because I probably mentioned it, although I can't quite remember, that I had asthma as a child. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I requested to be taken off the asthma register, which is a thing in the UK, because I've been asymptomatic for many, many years and hadn't required inhalers or anything. Excuse me again. So, when sorry, you guys, this is a difficult one to film. When COVID became a thing, my family and I were very cautious of it and concerned about it for varying reasons. So, as you all know, if you've seen my previous videos, I live with my parents, and my daughter Luna comes to us every other weekend and half of her school holidays. And my father has varying vulnerabilities. My mother not so much, but is progressing towards what we would describe as the elderly vulnerability category. I myself have fibromyalgia. Not quite sure whether that makes me vulnerable or not to, or more susceptible to COVID itself. I know that obviously by contracting it, I make my fibromyalgia symptoms worse. Excuse me again. And my daughter Luna Lily, we know, is extremely vulnerable. So we've been mega cautious since COVID started. And what I mean by that is we didn't go out if we didn't need to. I've been wearing one of these everywhere since the start of the pandemic, including and up until whenever. It hasn't stopped yet. I go into the office at work and I still wear this at my desk all day long. I've taken it off at the end of a 3-day stint of being in the office for literally an hour or so, because it was hurting behind my ears at the end of the 3rd day. Other than that, it's been on the entire time. If I'm out somewhere and it's not an open space and it's indoors and it's in public, whether that be a workplace or whether that be a supermarket or somewhere else, if I go to see the football, for example, it's on. If I'm on public transport, it's on. If I'm indoors in a public area, it's on. Not necessarily this one, I've got a few, but this one is the one that I happen to have with me at the second. We've all been extremely cautious. My parents stopped wearing them quite so much when it became less of a thing, when restrictions were all relaxed, all of those kind of things. Excuse me once again. Sorry. So, I've been super cautious. A couple of weekends ago, so today, filming this on the 11th of July, sorry you guys, my brain can't compute at the moment, so 11th of July, my parents went away for a week. For a week, I don't mean a full week, I mean Monday to Friday or Sunday to Friday, from the 26th of June. Sunday the 26th of June, they left, and on return, they came into the house. I came downstairs to greet them. It was mid-afternoon. My dad went straight upstairs, and my mum said that they both felt quite rough, thought potentially they had COVID, and advised me to stay away from them. My dad came downstairs, announced he had tested positive for COVID. My mother tested negative that same day. From that moment, I was wearing this indoors, in the house, whenever I was in an area that wasn't contained to my bedroom, essentially, including also going out for walks, which hasn't really happened at all because obviously I'm flaring up pretty badly, but I went out for one single walk with them and I wore this. I did not want to catch it at all, for varying reasons. First of all, I didn't know how it would affect me, and I wanted to try and keep the possibility of, even if there's COVID in my household, of potentially me being able to go and see Luna as scheduled. However, a couple of days later, I started feeling really quite bad, quite poorly, had a bit of a cough, had a fever, had a headache, FM symptoms got worse. Still been wearing this, and tested negative. That was the Sunday. So they came back on the Friday, which was the 1st, and I tested on the Sunday, the 3rd, as being negative. Bearing in mind, I haven't been working for the last month because of the fibromyalgia flare-up. Normally I work through them, but this one's been quite a severe one, so I've not been working. I've been too exhausted, too fatigued. Monday morning I woke up and I felt even worse. Was still wearing this, tested again for COVID and tested positive. Now, nothing has changed since I've tested positive. Obviously, things have changed. I mean, in terms of me wearing this, I'm still wearing this around the house. And one of my parents asked me the other day, Jamie, we've all got it. Why are you still wearing this? And I said, well, because we know that it spreads, we know that it multiplies, we know that it lays dormant on surfaces. I want to contain it as much as possible. Now, thinking about it, I should probably be changing my mask every day and sticking this in the wash. I'm not doing that. I probably should start doing that because this is probably full of it right now, and I'm not doing myself any favours by keeping it on my face. However, different topic, we're not going into that. I will start doing that, but we don't need to talk about that right now. So how did COVID affect me? Well, first of all, gave me a little bit of a cough. Nothing major. Really nothing bad at all to begin with. Excuse me 1 second, just after I make that extremely good point. Gave me a headache, which isn't a normal fibromyalgia symptom for me. I get a fatigue headache with fibromyalgia when I've been awake for too long, when I haven't had enough rest. And if you're a fibromyalgia sufferer, you know what I mean by that. It's not a proper headache. It doesn't make your head hurt. Your head it feels strange. It feels like you're not in it, if that makes sense. It feels like it doesn't belong to you. It just means you need a bit of sleep and rest. However, I had a headache turning into a migraine, and I had a fever. It was about, sorry if you're American because you won't understand this particularly, you'll have to do some Googling to convert it, but I had a temperature of around 39 degrees on the dot. So a little high. Now, I was already obviously taking medication, diazepam and codeine for the fibromyalgia flare-up. I decided to add to that paracetamol, pretty standard, and I chose, rather than ibuprofen, to go with naproxen, which I had, which is based off of ibuprofen. It's just a little bit stronger, and it's used to treat inflammation. I find it sometimes helps me with fibromyalgia symptoms. I thought, if it's a bit stronger than ibuprofen, my parents reported success with taking ibuprofen for COVID symptoms. I thought I would take naproxen, do the same kind of job, maybe just a little bit better. So where are we at a week later? The fibromyalgia symptoms, I don't really know what's going on with them. I'm sore, I'm achy, I'm tired, but I don't feel a lot. And the reason for that is the COVID symptoms have taken over and have got worse. Fever, mostly gone because I'm still taking that paracetamol and ibuprofen. So I'm sure it's there, I'm sure it's dormant, but the medications I'm taking, keeping the fever under control. Headache, gone, not a problem. Exhaustion, still very, very much there. I can do very, very little before I have to go back to bed. That was the case prior to picking up COVID anyway, because of the fibromyalgia flare-up. Catching COVID has just made it worse. The cough had stayed really, really minor until this weekend. And this weekend it's really, really ramped up. As you've seen watching this video, it's not awful by any means. While I'm prone, like I am at the second, I guess this isn't exactly prone, but when I'm kind of sitting or when I'm upright, if that makes sense, it's not bad. When I go prone, as in when I go to lay down, it gets a lot worse. Last night I was kept up until, well, let's just say I started trying to go to sleep at about 1 a.m. I was in coughing fits, which was giving me heavy stitching on one side until I think it was around 3 a.m. and I heard someone from upstairs go downstairs, presumably to let one of the dogs out. And I thought, here's an opportunity for me to go downstairs and ask if they know if any cough medicines help with the cough if you've got COVID. My mother was downstairs. She said she didn't think they did. She said the only thing she could suggest was keep taking the paracetamol and ibuprofen and sip, drink. So I decided to make myself a cup of tea. I don't like normal tea, so I had lemon and ginger tea. Thinking a little bit of a warmish drink, because I don't drink it hot. I wait for it to cool down. Might soothe it a little bit. And she also said that laying on your side is supposedly a lot better. 4 o'clock rolls round and the cough's getting better. I've been laying on my back, reading a Kindle book, just waiting for things to settle down a little bit. So I decided to try and get to sleep. The last time I remember checking any device was around 4:30, which is when I must have fallen asleep. I haven't checked the stats on my watch or anything. I feel like I'm about to cough. Give me 1 second. Sorry. So, around 4:30, I think I fell asleep. Well, that's the time I think I fell asleep. I did fall asleep, that's for sure. And the reason I'm so sure about that, if you've seen my previous videos, you know that one of my medications, which we haven't spoken about in depth yet, so in an upcoming video, gives me really vivid dreams, often nightmares. And I had a very, very vivid dream that was a lot more lifelike than normal. So when I have my lucid vivid dreams, I've taught myself to, I don't know how the brain does this or how it works. If any neuroscientists are watching this and have any understanding of this, fascinate me down in the comments. But I've somehow learned over the last half a year that I've been on this medication to understand when I'm dreaming and having a nightmare. Normally I enjoy nightmares, normally I enjoy the thrill, but if I'm aware of one that I don't enjoy, I am able to recognize that it's a nightmare, it's not actually happening, and I can actually wake myself up from them. Now, the reason a lot of the time that I'm aware that they are nightmares and not reality, because they're so lifelike and they're so lucid, is because they normally take place in a place from my past. In other words, the previous house we lived in 5-6 years ago. Excuse me. Now the one last night, how did this one differ? Well, it was in the present household, and it was very, very recent, very present, and there were a lot of featuring things that had happened very, very recently. For example, in the dream, I was home alone. My parents had gone away on holiday, leaving me home alone. They had left the bin out the front of the house for the dustbin them to collect, which had happened. I had ordered some takeaway food, which also happened. Because and I'm aware of this because the boxes were on the side in the kitchen. And then some other things happened in the dream that had also happened to an extent. Certain conversations I'd had with certain people replayed themselves via messaging apps, not face to face, because I hadn't seen anyone face to face, but by messaging apps. They replayed themselves, but they went a step further. And without going into too much detail, the dream that I had last night was so lifelike that it was frightening. And the level of detail in one of these conversations in particular was almost word for word as it was in reality, except the conversation escalated to a point where I'm now worried for that person that I was talking to in that dream. And I've been awake since because A, I was in coughing fits again, couldn't get back to sleep, and B, I was a bit scared after that dream. So I've had less than 2 hours of sleep. I had less than 4 hours of sleep yesterday. Other than that, my sleep has been relatively normal. So what is COVID like when you've got fibromyalgia? I guess the answer is depends who you are, depends how your lungs work, depends on many, many factors. For me, it's not been pleasant. To begin with, it seemed okay, seemed like just a cold, but now the cough's getting worse. I was genuinely struggling to breathe at times last night. I was genuinely starting to panic a little bit. When I'm up and about, as you can see, I'm okay. I'm tired, sure, I'm exhausted. I feel like I want to go lay down. I'm coughing, not as frequently, anywhere near as frequently as when I'm laying down. Excuse me, just while I prove that point. But the cough seems to be getting worse, and the other symptoms, fine, they're being kept at bay by the medication, but the cough certainly is not nice. So what is the reason for this video? Because all I've done is just talk and talk. The reason for this video is just simply to say, sorry, I'm not going to be uploading any of the parts of the mini-series. I know we've done part 1. If you haven't watched it yet, there'll be a link at the end of this video for you to go and check that out. Part 2 was scheduled to come out about 4 or 5 days ago. I released a short, I think on the Wednesday or Thursday before, and just said, sorry, it's not going to be out. And I explained that I had COVID. This video is just an extension of that to explain a little bit more about why exactly that video didn't release, and just to advise that the next couple of Fridays are also likely to be release free. Part 2 of the mini-series is going to be all about symptoms of fibromyalgia. I have not done my research for it yet. Yes, I do research, despite the fact I suffer. I do the research as well. So I've got informative sources other than just myself and my own opinion. So I haven't done the research for it. That's going to take some time, and I haven't got the energy to do that right now. Secondly, filming takes another hour or so. Again, haven't got the energy to do a video that length. Editing, again, hour, 2 hours. Haven't got the energy or the strength to do it. After that, the rest is easy. But all of those couple of things, I haven't got the time, strength, or energy to do any of it right now. So apologies for that. There will not be any parts of the mini-series released for the upcoming few weeks. That does not mean to say that they won't be released. They will be. There is still going to be 5 parts. They are still going to be released. There is still going to be no other content until that series has finished, apart from this video explaining why. Other than that, thank you for all your support so far, all of your kind comments, all of your likes, all of your subscribes. If you got any tips for this cough in the comments, pop them down below, please. Otherwise, stay safe, everyone. It's not nice. Use one of these if you're at risk. I think the reason I caught it was because despite using this one evening when they had gone upstairs to bed, I went downstairs to get a drink and I forgot to use this. I think just because they weren't downstairs, I didn't even think about using this. Obviously, because of that, it was likely on a surface somewhere, and I then breathed in the virus and picked it up that way. So I wouldn't say I was skeptical. I would say fibro fog, maybe. That's something that we'll come to in the symptoms video, or forgetfulness or tiredness or exhaustion for one reason or the other. Forgot to wear this. I think that's probably why. Or could just be really close proximity, and these aren't exactly 100% effective preventative measure. Who knows? One of those two. Anyway, sorry there's not going to be a part 2 anytime soon. Excuse me 1 second. However, there will be a part 2 coming, and I will keep you updated as to when that will be. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.